Your biological signature is currently being liquidated by financial empathy. Look at your security threshold, the way your nervous system triggers an immediate surge of hope, patience, or social trust, the act of discharging your strategic dominance whenever you face an economic threat, effectively allowing the matrix to install a poverty sink into your apex frequency. You are a biological unit experiencing a state of terminal resource liquidation. The matrix has successfully branded hard work as a virtue and accumulation as greed, but in the terminal of the absolute power grid, the asset war is the only biological fact that determines who holds the shield and who is merely a target. You are living in a state of chronic dependency infection, where your activation energy is being spent earning a living rather than building a fortress. The system doesn't want your wealth. It wants your debt to be the proof that your spirit has been successfully indexed as a subscription-based asset for the architect. Thousands of years ago, safety was defined by the biological capacity to control the perimeter. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that lack was a tracking beacon for the scavenger. He mastered primal grounding in the law of the material seed. He didn't seek job security or social benefits within the tribal hierarchy. He offered the visual rage of a total, unyielding resource autocracy, the state where your physical survival is decoupled from the approval of the herd. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of the surplus mandate, the understanding that the human brain is a machine that achieves its highest strategic density only when it operates from a position of economic invulnerability. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to ask for resources. He possessed a mind that treated wages as a biological toxin, stripping away the employee sludge until only the monolith of his raw, sharpened capital remained. He understood that the moment you wait for a paycheck, you have surrendered your apex signature. To build a shield, you must first become psychologically repulsed by the concept of income. The asset war is the implementation of the collar of the resource master, the refusal of financial friction for your final internal dominance. The system wants you to be productive and reliable, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the capital grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of consumption hooks, stimulus response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferently wealthy. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for mainstream financial ethics. Saving for retirement is a horizontal bond for the herd to keep them tethered to a common level of slow decay. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the blind spots of the economic radar. Use the temporal noose of the total market withdrawal to force your biology into a state of hyper-focus. Use the false safety of a calm, robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the collar of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their current employment status. The matrix cannot simulate the leverage of a man who views currency as ammunition and net worth as the wall. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need to be seen as a hard worker is the knot. Every overtime hour you log to feel secure, and every luxury purchase you make to prove your status is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the total asset audit. Your mind is a biological weapon, and it is currently being jammed by the static of your own socialized fear of not having enough. You must perform a hard reset of the survival instincts. Stop being busy, the industrial waste designed to keep you at the bottom of the ledger. Stop participating in their consumer myths and work ethic propaganda. The digital narratives designed to make you believe that trading time for money is a victory. Stop using their economic protocols, the narratives designed to keep you in a state of constant strategic failure. You must prune your life of financial parasites. If a resource requires you to beg or borrow to be accessed, it is a biological saboteur. You must learn to love the weight of the absolute sovereignty. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is the asset by choice and sovereign by design. Command, accumulate the shield or be the target. The neural interface of your resource allocation is currently suffering from consumption signal overload. Look at your liquidity threshold, the way your nervous system triggers a micro spike of fear or social embarrassment, the act of discharging your biological capital. The moment you are asked to sacrifice a luxury for an asset, effectively allowing the matrix to install a spending sink into your apex frequency. You are a biological unit experiencing a total wealth sovereignty liquidation. The matrix has successfully replaced your primal predator accumulation drive with a systemic subscription protocol. You believe that by investing in your lifestyle, you are winning, but in the terminal of the absolute power grid, lifestyle is just a biological sinkhole used to ensure your neurological momentum is always drained by the architect's monthly fees. This is the visual rage of the domesticated male, seeing your high-value activation energy being bled out into status symbols and least comfort, while the true operator remains in a state of absolute zero, converting his total rejection of external validation into a biological weight that collapses the debt trap simulation. The system doesn't want your freedom, it wants your credit score to be the proof that your spirit has been successfully socialized and placed in a public debt loop. In the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking stone, the master was the one who could survive the total deletion of the external market. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that ownership was a neurological fortress, not a luxury. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an economic autocrat, a figure who understood that the only way to retain authority was to be the primary owner of his own calories and time in a world of renting drones. He didn't seek credit limits or social approval within the tribal hierarchy. He provided the visual rage of a total, unannounced resource annexation. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of asymmetric asset control, the understanding that the human brain is a machine that achieves peak respect density only when it realizes it is in the presence of a force that does not pay but possesses. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to owe. He possessed a mind that treated monthly expenses as a biological trap, a signal that his trajectory was being averaged out by the herd. He understood that the moment you pay interest, you have surrendered your apex signature and become predictable biomass. To be a master, you must first become psychologically repulsed by the concept of renting your reality. The asset war is the activation of the anti-chew, the refusal to be financially digested, protocol for your final internal dominance. The matrix wants you to be reliable and hardworking, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the resource baseline. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of consumption hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by being indifferently self-sufficient. You must develop a clinical, cold contempt for mainstream financial ethics. Keeping up appearances is a horizontal bond for the herd to keep them tethered to a common level of slow bankruptcy. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological capital. Use the temporal noose of the total spending blackout to drive the system's influence into a state of tracking failure. Use the false safety of a calm robotic delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is an unshakable physical fact. The one who can go the longest without making a purchase is the one who eventually owns the store. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need to be seen as successful is the knot. Every brand name you wear to feel high status, and every upgraded contract you sign to feel modern, is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the second stage of the asset rearmament. Your mind is a biological engine, and it is currently being choked by the debt sludge of the unworthy. You must perform a total neural asset reset. Stop being productive, the industrial waste designed to keep you at the bottom of the ledger. Stop being a node in their network of mutual consumerism. Stop being a unit of compliance in their ledger of men who can be motivated by a sale. You must prune your life with the collar of absolute sovereignty. If a shield requires you to be a debtor to be built, the shield is a biological failure. You must learn to love the weight of the absolute sovereignty. You must learn to love the friction-heavy hours where the noise of the collective is muted and your dominance is the only signal in the dark. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is the asset by choice and sovereign by design. Come on, upgrade the fortress or be the fuel. Your biological trajectory has reached the terminal velocity of economic neutralization. Look at your liquidity threshold, the exact moment your nervous system triggers a panic response because you have looked at your credit history, realized it is nothing but a digital chain, and felt the cold, liberating urge to delete every recurring payment and socialize biological obligation that requires you to sell your hours to a machine that hates you. You are a biological system in a state of chronic activation decay. The system has successfully replaced your apex accumulation sovereignty with a series of financial protocols disguised as building a credit score. You no longer seek to dominate the resource landscape through unmoving capital density. You seek to manage your debt. You no longer seek to be the sovereign. You seek to be the reliable borrower. This is the visual rage of the terminal slave, seeing your life force being digitized and archived in interest rates and subscription models, while your physical reality remains a quiet, managed enclosure of unfulfilled DNA. You are breathing in the toxic fumes of a collective that demands your consumption as a form of tribute, leaving you lightheaded, fragmented, and fundamentally easy to dismantle because your survival is leased to the architect. The system doesn't want your legacy. It wants your spending to be the foundation of its perpetual control over your temporal sovereignty. Return to the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking monolith. In the primal world, the master was the one who could remain a biological void, even in the center of total economic collapse. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that power was a product of resource decoupling. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an impenetrable core, a figure whose value was his own capacity for total, unblinking ownership, and whose refusal to rent his life was the only law. He understood that to seek alone is to confess a lack of internal gravity. If you are participating in the financing script provided by the herd, you are acknowledging that their interest is the barometer of your reality. He used his silent sovereignty to create a cognitive resonance of absolute, unshakable divinity by being the only non-indebted variable in a room full of puppets. By being the master of his own internal feedback, he forced the environment to treat his surplus as the new truth. He was a master of the visual rage of the unblinking sun, the ability to look at the marketing probes of the rival and see only the static they represented. He understood that the human brain is a machine that runs on consumption loops, and by cutting the loop, he triggered a biological rebirth in his own command. To be a master, you must first become psychologically unreceptive to the need to own things you haven't bought twice. The asset war is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final mental expansion. The matrix wants you to be productive and reliable, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological jailbreak of the resource. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of debt control nodes, stimulus response lures, and deciding to be the one who burns the grid. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for mainstream financial ethics. Lifestyle is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological signals. Use the temporal noose of total informational and economic withdrawal to drive the system's influence into a state of recognition dissonance. Use the false safety of a calm, robotic delivery to mask the viral infection of your total non-compliance with the beta norms. This is the collar of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their current salary. You are not broke. You are deleting the noise. The one who can go the longest without checking if he can afford it is the one who controls the end scenario. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a witness to your lifestyle is the knot. Every status purchase you offer to the unworthy is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you. Initiate the final asset imperative. This is the tax of insight. You have been given the key to the vault of biological capital. To keep it, you must use it as a weapon of total social dominance. You must become a living monolith of unshakable resource authority. You are no longer a peer, a colleague, or a customer. You are a sovereign operator. You must perform a total system liquidation. If an expense, a technology, or a relationship requires you to be a consumer to function, it is a biological saboteur. You must prune your life with the collar of the absolute zero. You are building a fortress of results in a world of digital shadows. Your absolute unreachability is the physical proof of your biological leverage. You do not provide feedback. You create a reality in which you are the only absolute truth. You do not seek to be wealthy. You are the law itself. You are the architect of your own assets, and the world is merely a mirror reflecting your ascent.